We might have a few more classes coming in, but we're going to go ahead and get started. Welcome to Homecoming Week. I want to introduce a former student at Kennedy High School. Troy Fox graduated in 1991, and he's asked Mr. Klein to share a little of his life story with you. He shared with the juniors the other day. And so at this time, we'd like to welcome Mr. Troy Fox. He's going to talk to you about some decision making and hopefully some good decision making on your part. So give it up for Mr. Troy Fox.
I'm sure everybody in here has a friend that's either close to them or you see in here that you enjoy seeing every day and that you like their pleasure. Well, just imagine, if you could, that that person's dead. And it's because of your own actions that they lost their life. Looking at me from the outside, you can't tell that I killed somebody, and you can't tell that it was a good friend of mine, and that it tears me up inside. Just from the outside looking in, I look like your typical class clown, guy who wears funny shirts, bright clothes, and likes to stand out in public. I remember when you were a little kid, and like everything was bright and sunny every day you woke up. No stress, no nothing. You were just happy-go-lucky, even if it was raining outside. Everything kind of went dark for me around 8 years old or so. I won't go into what happened, but I can say I was the kind of kid that liked to spin around on baseball bats and roll down hills. And I liked the feeling of being busy. I liked spinning around, and I found that drugs and alcohol did that a lot longer than spinning around or rolling down a hill would. So probably about 11 years old, I started drinking almost every weekend. Going into 6th grade, instead of playing basketball and doing a lot of sports, mostly I just kind of rode a skateboard, went to the pool, and got high and drunk. By the time I started high school, it was pretty much about 4 to 7 days a week. I had easy access to things, and I knew how to manipulate, I knew how to network, and I don't know, I was a pretty good con man. But, I managed to skate through high school. I didn't get in trouble a lot because I got good grades, and I just knew how to work the system. The first real consequence I really had from alcohol was on April 22nd, 1991. One of my good friends took his own life. He committed suicide, and it was on a Sunday morning when he was found. And that had a pretty big impact on me. I spent that whole Monday drinking, getting high, and trying to drown my sorrows. Well, I ended up lost and trying to walk home from a bar downtown, and I fell off a fence. I had on some glasses, and I fell off a fence, and I had the glasses shoved through my head. I landed on a railroad tie, and I ended up walking railroad tracks from down by Ellis Park area where they tore down the Cooper's Mill all the way to Wilson Avenue. And that's where I kind of came to. I think I was kind of walking unconscious. And I was crossing Wilson Avenue and a car honked, and I looked back and I went forward and I ended up running into a tree and pretty much tore all the skin off my face. So by the time I got to the hospital, I was 0.43, which is, I had 40% alcohol in my blood, and I was legally dead, but I was coherent, and I was just sitting there talking to the doctors, and they're like trying to tell my parents, this kid's got a problem. And all my parents could see was the outward appearance of, I ended up with around 120 stitches throughout my face, and had a lot of things. So I couldn't even get Novocaine shots or Lidocaine shots until they fed me charcoal to force me to vomit. But that didn't slow me down. There was a lot of rumors that I tried to hurt myself as well, where it was just I was just an idiot who was drunk. But that had an impact on the rest of my life in a positive and in a negative way. I ended up going to the University of Iowa, made it through there in 4 years, have no idea how or why, but can't really tell you that much that I learned. The one thing I did learn throughout my youth was that I was good at sales, I was good at manipulating people, and I really don't have a fear of taking control of a room and getting people to respond to me or listen to what I have to say or what I have to do. And, I'd like to say that I was a good student at the University of Iowa, but I really wasn't. I partied a lot. I got in trouble. I'm actually still on probation at the University of Iowa, and I graduated from there in 1995, probably about the time that a lot of people were being born. In a 3-week period, I got caught with a vending machine upside down at 3 in the morning because I was hungry and didn't have any money. I got caught with a fire hose unrolled in the halls of a dorm, and then I got arrested for bootlegging. I had a kegger in my dorm room, and somebody tried to sell in uniform campus security officer cup. So I had to go through in front of a student panel and in front of the dean, and they told me that even if I came back at 80 years old to get a master's degree at the University of Iowa, I'd still be on disciplinary probation at the university. So I thought I was pretty cool. I was like, God, that's pretty legendary. And within a month of that, I ended up in the hospital 3 times in 1 week. I ended up with, I got hit in the face with a board and my tooth went through my mouth, so I ended up with stitches. Another time I woke up and my head hurt so bad that I thought I had a brain tumor the shape of a beer can because I'd been drinking so much. And they had to give me IVs to get me rehydrated and to help me with the migraine I had. And then about 2 weeks later, I ended up with mono. And I thought I could drink through it, but I ended up, my glands swelled up and my neck got about that big around, and I couldn't feel better no matter what I did, so I finally went to the hospital. And every time I had the same person at the front desk, the same little curtain, and the same nurse and doctor, and he told me in no explicit words that I was pretty much a loser, and I needed help, and I had a problem, and I'm like, I'm 19, man. I'm having fun. And looking back on it, I had a lot more fun just being with my friends than I really did escaping from everything. But from a child on, I could be in a room full of people like this with a microphone and feel like not one person in here would understand how I felt. I felt alone, I felt empty, and I couldn't figure out why. I always thought I was an alien. I just kept waiting for the mothership to come and beam me up because I didn't feel like I really belonged anywhere. And when I would get drunk and high, that would kind of numb that. So I kind of felt like I was a part of it. I had a lot of friends, I was popular, I was in the top 6 for King, but I still felt like, nobody here gets me, nobody understands me. I didn't try to have relationships, I didn't want to establish relationships because I didn't feel like I was going to be around long enough for it really to matter. And I chased death most of my life. I did stupid, crazy things because I always thought if people feared me, they would respect me and they'd just leave me alone, or they would follow me. And when I was about 2 days before I turned 26, this was in 1999, I had a birthday party, and I bought a Jeep on Valentine's Day that year. So I had a 1999 Jeep, had about 310 miles on it, and I drank a couple bottles of tequila and thought I could drive home. There was a snowstorm, and I ended up hitting the driver's side door by a snowplow, rolled like 6 times, took the jaws of life to get me out. And I came away with it with just a little bit of a nick in my spleen, so I just got put on bed rest. But my spleen ended up rupturing, and I ended up spending 13 days in the hospital. Had to have emergency surgery and some other stuff. So, what do you think I did the day I got out of the hospital? I got drunk on pain pills, yeah. Because, I got hit by a snowplow. I didn't hit a snowplow, so it couldn't have been alcohol. Couldn't have been my fault. Because most normal people are out at 3 in the morning in a snowstorm, going through lights. And the truth of the matter is, if I'd have been sober, I would have seen the plow and I would have never got hit. But you couldn't have told me that then. So I spent the next 10 years of my life just destroying everything in front of me. I got married because that's what I saw my friends doing. Got married, had a child. Didn't want to quit drinking. My ex-wife wanted me to slow down or stop, and that wasn't an option, so I got a divorce. And the flood of '08 kind of had a pretty big impact on me. I was a West Side kid that came to Kennedy. I went to Roosevelt, but I grew up right by Ellis Park. And the childhood home I grew up in got destroyed by the flood. My parents had boat houses as I grew up. They were pretty severely damaged. And that was when I think everything went from me realizing that I drank to go out and party and have a good time to I just needed to escape and not be me anymore, and I just didn't want to deal with reality, period. And I kind of trudged through the next year of my life aimlessly. So around Labor Day in 2009, I'd been living with a girl for a couple years, and she was just fed up with, she said, I don't know if you're really a liar, but I think more often than not, you just don't remember anything you tell me. Because I blacked out quite a bit, so she was probably right with that, but she's just like, I can't handle it anymore. She ended up breaking up with me on Labor Day, and then in the end of September, I lost my job. And then on October 5th, 2009, the 4th was a Sunday, and I did a little Sunday fun day. I worked at a bar till about 9 or 10, watched the Cowboys and the Broncos play. And the only reason I even remember, most of the day I don't remember, but the only reason I remember that's because one bartender was a Cowboys fan, one bartender was a Broncos fan, and they kept going at each other, and I know the Broncos won. But a friend of mine and we were going out bar hopping on a Sunday night, just trying to find anywhere that had people in it, because most normal people on a Sunday night are going to bed so they can go to work on Monday. And at 2:36 in the morning, I lost control of my car on I-380 North, in between Collins Road and Blair's Ferry Road. There's a light pole right before the bridge, right before the guardrail, that has a big gray mark on it. That big gray mark was my car. And that was from October 5th, 2009, so that gray mark's been there for 8 years. I hit it at about 70 mile an hour. I woke up around 9 a.m. or so, strapped to a hospital bed. My head was strapped down, my chest was strapped down, my arms and my legs were strapped down. And I couldn't move, and I didn't know what was going on. And then a nurse put her face in front of mine and told me that I'd broken 5 vertebrae in my neck and my ribs, and taken off most of my head. And they were stapling me back together at that time. But she said we had to strap you down because we were afraid if you woke up and sat up, I completely separated my head from my spine, that they thought I might die. And the crazy thing was, when I got hit by the snowplow, I didn't break anything. And my friends had been calling me unbreakable for like 10 years, and I thought I couldn't break bones. I had stitches over 100 times from just stupid things I've done. I've got scars all over my body. But I was definitely breakable. And, I was fortunate enough to be able to walk away from that. It took recovery, but I kept asking, where's Ruben? Where's my friend? And, those nurses, I was at the University of Iowa, so they had no idea because I came in a helicopter. And, a nurse told me like 4 hours later, she said, I found out that he came in a helicopter right behind you and he's downstairs in a coma. I knew I was in trouble, but I didn't think that, he was gonna die, but he did. He died on October 11th. And I did get to say goodbye to him, but it didn't help. It didn't make things better, obviously. Unlike getting hit by something, there was no one to put the blame on. It was me, What could I say? I lost control. I ran into something, and there was nothing to blame. There's no mechanical failure. There was nothing else. The only truth of the matter is I was 3 times the legal limit drunk, and I shouldn't have been driving. So I got out of the hospital, and I hated alcohol, I hated drugs, I hated myself, and I kept getting drunk. And I couldn't figure out why I couldn't stop drinking. I had no idea that alcohol was more powerful than I was, and that it was going to take something outside of me to get me to stop. I used to get up in the morning, and I'd be hungover, and I would put in my contacts, and then I would spit on my mirror and tell myself that I deserved to be dead. And I did that one morning, and then I had a phone book sitting there, and I ended up throwing it. And when I picked it up, it was opened up to ASAC. I didn't know what to do, so after I quit, because I was crying so hard, I finally called them, asked for help. That was when I realized that not only was I an alcoholic, which I'd always bragged about my whole life, but I tried to play God my whole life. I thought that if everyone just did what I wanted, that the world would be perfect. And I couldn't figure out why nobody ever did what I wanted to do, like ants in an ant farm, or trying to teach a cat to do tricks. It just didn't work. But I finally knew that I needed help and that I needed something else. So through the help of the 12-step program and through treatment and some other things, I realized that I wasn't an alien, that I was just an alcoholic, and I had similar feelings to people that are lost and hopeless. And going into my trial, which I ended up going to prison on October 22nd, 2010. So I was about 10 and a half months sober. And the crazy thing was, it was the happiest year of my life since I've been like 8 years old. I had more stress, more pain, and more misery in my life than I'd ever had, but I had feelings that I actually felt because I didn't know. And I learned a little bit about being a little more selfless instead of selfish. So I went to prison, and I was in prison for 2,301 days. I was in there for 6 years and 4 months. And by the time I got there, trying to live a selfless life in a prison where I probably could have been a pretty good prisoner back in the day. Well, I could have been a good con. I wouldn't have been a good prisoner. I was a good prisoner because I was a little more submissive and I was a little more helpful. But it taught me a lot about being humbled. People think, oh, that job could never go without me. My friends would never live without me. This couldn't happen, that couldn't happen. Well, I watch people get married. I watch people have children. I watch people get promotions. I watched kids grow up. I mean, some of the kids I knew were 9, 10 years old, even younger, and now they're young adults. And life went on without me. And Cedar Rapids rebuilt after a flood without me. And the whole thing about it is I'm not here to tell you guys not to drink or do drugs because that's hypocritical. What I'm here to tell you is not anyone in here can drive better after a beer. Not anyone in here can drive better after some pills, after smoking a joint. And it's not always cool to do the right thing, but the right thing to do is if you see somebody have a drink, take their keys so they're mad at you that night. I'd rather have them mad at you than to find out the next day that they're dead and you can't be mad at them. Most things are temporary. the decisions we make right now can either build or destroy our future. If you stand in front of a clear lake and you throw a rock into it, there's ripples. Every decision you make has ripples that go out. The bigger waves affect those closest to you, but when I took Reuben's life, not only was his immediate family